Today's warm-up, we're going to be looking at a problem where the order of operations is important and there's going to be rational numbers. We will also be substituting in for those variables. So, first thing we have here is mn. Well, first thing we have is that we're given the values of each of those variables. We have mn. When two variables are next to each other like that, it means that they're being multiplied together. So we've got 6 times negative 1/6, excuse me. Remember, the reason I put those in parentheses to separate that negative sign from the multiplication so that we don't get confused. Plus 5 times the quantity of 2 times p is negative 9 plus 25 minus 8, the quantity of 8 times n, which again is negative 1/2, minus 3 times negative 6, and that's a negative there. So now we have some decisions to make because we've got quite a long problem here. I know the first thing that we do is the P, which stands for parentheses. So I have noticed that some of you get confused here where you see this parentheses is around the negative 1/2, but there's nothing to do there. So we just carry on to the next thing where there is something to do, which would be not here, but right here. I've got 2 times negative 9, which is negative 18. And we need to bring down the rest of the problem. So I've got negative 6 times negative 1/2 plus 5 times the quantity of negative 18 plus 25 minus the quantity of 8 times negative 1/2 minus 3 times negative 6. So we still need to continue working on this first set of parentheses where we started. Underline everything I'm not doing. I know it seems tedious at times to keep rewriting each part to carry it down, but this is really what we need to do to make sure that if we were to make a mistake or when we go back and check our work, that we're able to see each and every part. So I've got here negative 18 plus 25. The signs are different. Find the difference. So I know I've got my absolute value. I've got 25 minus 18. That gives me 7. And 25 has got the larger absolute value, so I'm going to leave that as a positive. And bring down the rest of this problem. Okay, so I am still working inside parentheses. I'm done. I left this 7 inside parentheses, but I now need to move on to the next set of parentheses. So I've got, whoops, that is multiplication, negative 1/2 plus 5 times 7. Don't forget when there's a number next to parentheses, it does mean to multiply. So the first thing I'm doing here is this 8 times negative 1/2. Now, when I multiply something times 1/2, it's really just the same as finding half of the number. So I don't need to necessarily go through all the steps here if I'm aware of the fact that dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. I've got a positive times a negative, so it's going to remain a negative because that's an odd number of negatives. And half of 8, of course, is 4 minus 3 times negative 6. Still working down those parentheses. You can see how we keep getting smaller and smaller each time. Okay, so here we are. We've got negative 4 minus, and then I've got 3 times negative 6, which is negative 18. And I still do need to work inside these parentheses right here. This is not what I'm doing. And I don't want to forget that I've got to do the cha-cha-cha here. So I've got negative 4 stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. And now the signs are different. Find the difference. So that would be 14. And because this has got the larger absolute value, this is going to be positive. So now I simply need to bring down the rest of this problem. Negative 6 times negative 1/2 plus 5 times 7, and that's minus 14. Okay, so obviously I need to go on to another page here. So I'm just going to rewrite my last expression. I've got negative 6 times negative 1/2 plus 5 times 7 minus 14. Okay, so I've done the parentheses. I didn't have any exponents, so I didn't have to do that. So now I'm moving on to multiplication and division. Remember, I do both of those in order from left to right as I find them. So the first thing I get to is negative 6 times negative 1/2. So a negative times a negative will always be a positive. And this, just like the 8, when I did 8 times 1/2, I've got 6 times 1/2 now. Multiplying times 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2, so half of 6 is 3. Bring down the rest of the problem. Oops. So that is 5 times 7 minus 14. I'm not yet done with all the multiplication and division. I've got multiplication right here, so I bring this down. 3 plus 5 times 7 is 35 minus 14. There is no more multiplication and division. So the next thing I'm going to be looking at is addition and subtraction. Again, in order from left to right. So I've got 3 plus 35 is 38 minus 14. And the only thing I have left to do is subtract. So 38 minus 14. So if I do 38 minus 4, that's 34. Take away 10 more is 24. There's my final answer.